If you are a brand new CPC-A, I have got the best tips that you need to know right now to make sure that you are on the track to success in medical coding. Hey everyone, I'm Victoria. I'm a medical coder, auditor, educator, content creator, and national speaker. And on my channel, I provide tips, tricks, and tutorials to help you be successful in a medical coding career. When I first became a CPC-A, I knew nothing about things like local chapters and CEUs. And as medical coders, we spend so much time concentrating on learning coding and guidelines that after we pass that certification, it can be overwhelming to figure out, what do I do to maintain my certification? What are these local chapter things? What are CEUs? Do I get them from local chapters? Can I get them somewhere else? So let's talk about that. Make sure you stay until the end of this video because I'm going to give you a bonus tip about what you need to do while you're waiting to land your first job. Now, when I became certified, I was already working in the revenue cycle as a charge entry specialist, so I didn't have to worry so much about getting in as much as I had to worry about moving up. And what I did was I took all of those opportunities that my colleagues were scoffing at and used those as building blocks and started climbing my way up into a better career. One of the first things you're going to want to do as an apprentice coder is figure out how to get your apprenticeship status removed. Now, I have a video on removing your apprenticeship status, but essentially in order to become a full-fledged CPC and not have that A on the end of your credential, the apprentice status, you need to have 2 years experience or the equivalent. So how do we make the equivalent of 2 years experience if we want to fast track our apprenticeship removal? There's 2 different things you can do that will each remove 1 year. One of them is if you had 80 contact hours of education through an instructor or a school, and you can get something either on official letterhead or a note from your instructor, something official that says that you had that amount of contact hours, and that will remove 1 year off the 2 years requirement. So you could do 1 year experience and 1 year of 80 hours of education. Now, the other thing that will also remove 1 year of experience is Practicode, and I have a whole video, you can check it out right here, and I'll link it below, on Practicode. And Practicode is a whole bunch of redacted cases. It takes a long time to get through, and it is more hands-on coding. So they essentially just give you blocks where you fill in whatever ICD-10 and CPT codes and HCPCS codes and modifiers and connections you think it is. It is an additional fee, so you likely have to pay for Practicode unless you got one of the more expensive bundles that the AAPC offers. And once you complete Practicode, that will take 1 year off your apprentice requirement. So essentially, the way you can remove your apprentice status is you can get 2 years of experience, or you can get 1 year of experience in Practicode, or 1 year of experience and the 80 contact hours of education, or you can do Practicode and the 80 hours, and that will be the equivalent of 2 years, and that will help remove your apprentice status. Now, one of the questions I get asked all the time, and I've even talked about this with recruiters when I interviewed with Bertram, is the apprentice status removal considered the same as having 2 years experience? Is that Practicode considered the same as experience? And no, it's not considered the same as having hands-on company experience as a medical coder, but there are certain job offerings where they specifically say no CPC-As. So in those specific cases where they're saying no CPC-As, once you have your apprentice removed, you will qualify for those positions, at least from that aspect of it. Now, when you're certified as a CPC-A, you get a certificate that does say CPC-A on it. Once you get that apprentice status removed, they will issue you a new certificate that does not have the apprentice designation on it. Now, of course, one of the focuses of newly certified coders is finding a job. I have a whole video on job search techniques, and you might have to just get your foot in the door, start somewhere else in the revenue cycle, and then transfer over to the coding department. So just apply, apply, apply. Check Indeed.com, check CodersDirect.com. Check them as frequently as you can. Fill out your resume, fill out those forms they give you. It does take some coders a while to land their first position. And after a few weeks, if you're not getting any hits, you might want to consider getting some feedback from someone on your resume or having it professionally done. I have a link in the description to Project Resume. They do resumes just for coders, and they are absolutely phenomenal and very highly recommended. And try not to get too discouraged about how many positions say that they want experience. Actually, according to an article from monster.com, the issue of getting experience applies to nearly all jobs, not just medical coding. So no matter what industry you get into, there's going to be that catch-20 of they want experience, but if no one gives you a job, how are you going to get your experience? One of the things this particular article recommends is doing some potentially volunteer work. If you have an internship or an externship, those are absolutely going to be fantastic for getting some real-world experience and highlighting that on your resume. Now, one thing that can be crucial with your job search and just your career growth in general is networking. So any coders that are certified through the AAPC, you have lots of local chapters. There are AHIMA chapters as well, but the AAPC chapters are a little bit more broad and they are very, very involved, and there's lots of great activities that a lot of them conduct. And the great thing about networking with your local chapters is that those coders know when positions are going to open up, right? So if they're working for a company at a nearby hospital and they know that they just got approved for 2 new positions or someone's retiring soon, they can help maybe bring you a little bit forward in that process. You know, say, hey, supervisor, I met this really wonderful person at a local chapter meeting and she's going to be sending out her resume. Here's her name. Look out for it. And even in the virtual environment, you can talk in things like the chat applications on Zoom and try to network with your other coders that way. And then there's social media. You can join Facebook groups, you can join LinkedIn groups, you can just connect with a lot of people on LinkedIn, including recruiters who often post every time they have new job openings. And one of the great things about local chapters is that's where you can get a lot of CEUs for free. Now, if you need free CEUs, you can check out my video on that as well. But local chapters have great continuing education, which you need as an apprentice coder. There are a certain amount of CEUs, continuing education units, you have to submit at certain time frames in order to maintain your certification. So just because you pass the exam doesn't mean you're a certified coder forever. You have to meet up with your continuing education units and you have to pay membership dues. Currently, AAPC membership dues are $190 a year, so you have to pay that membership fee every year in order to maintain any of the AAPC credentials you have. And you also have to get continuing education units. The more credentials you have, the more CEUs you're going to have due. And this usually has a routine date based off of your certification date of when those CEUs are due. But if you get a job where they put you on a corporate membership, not only will your renewal date change, but your CEU date will change as well, and they will be prorated. So don't wait too long to get those CEUs. Sometimes it kind of goes into the back of your mind and then you realize that they're due at the end of the month and you have a ton that you need to get. So don't let them go too long. Try to get 2 or 3 CEUs every month, and that way it'll just become part of the routine. Always do your healthcare business monthly, always do your free quarterlies, and then just be on the lookout for others through things like your Medicare administrative contractors, or sometimes people on social media will just post like, hey, I've got a free CEU course. By the way, if you need some free CEUs, contempocoding.com, I've got you hooked up. Now here is my final bonus tip. Hone your skills while you are waiting to find a job. If an employer brings you in for an interview and asks, what have you been doing to keep up with your medical coding skills, you don't want to sit there and tell them, well, I just got certified and now I'm just waiting for a job. You want to have something that you can tell them. So tell them that you've been reading Healthcare Business Monthly, so you're staying up to date on all of the current medical coding news and updates. Tell them that you've been doing your continuing education units, that you've been going to webinars, you've been doing training sessions. Tell them that maybe you're looking into getting another credential, that you're training for something else. Or maybe you've just been honing in on your office skills, learning about Word and Excel and PowerPoint, or even things like crucial conversations or time management. A lot more employers these days are not just looking for technical skills, but those soft skills as well. And if you need tips for an interview, hey, I've got a video for that as well. So if you're a CPC-A, what do you find to be the biggest struggle with your next steps? I definitely need to know. So leave it in the comments below so that I can read it and see what I can do for you guys. I will see you in the next video. And until then, just keep on coding on.